Hello guys and welcome back to Tech&Ed Tech Talks. Ayan, of course, nandito pa rin today ang aking partner na si Cyrus.
Hello, guys. How
Yes,
are you? How are you?
of course, this is Edison Tan, no? And today, we have a very special guest. Of course, dahil ang pag-uusapan natin today ay all about game development.
Yun.
Ayan. Siyempre, marami sa atin na napakahilig ngayon maglaro ng games, especially during the pandemic. We saw the rise of, games like Mobile Legends, even yung iba pang mga games sa PC.
Mhm.
And right now, we're experiencing the shortage of mga gaming consoles and even mga hardware parts for PC because a lot of people are now playing games. And of course, with that, kailangan natin ng mas maraming games para ma-entertain tayong lahat. Pero syempre, ang guest natin today is not just a gamer. Of course, he's the, ano ba, siya ang President and Chairman no, ng Game Developers Association of the Philippines. Ayan. And also the national, uh, the manager no, of the national team for the SEA Games.
Nice.
Ayan. Of course, he's no other than Mr. Alvin Juban. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
Hello.
Edison. Glad to be here.
Ayan. Long time no see. How are you?
Not getting taller, just wider.
Wider. Syempre, congratulations for the very successful SEA Games, no? Even though late na, no? Uh, Still successful siya.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in the history of the Southeast Asian Games na magkaroon ng esports. And nangyari yon sa Pilipinas. So it's a really very historic moment for for the entire Southeast Asian nation.
Yep.
And dahil dyan, no, nagkaroon din ng interest yung mga tao kasi parang a lot of people don't know. Ano ba tong e-sport? Ano ba tong mga games na to? 'Di ba? I mean, they are playing games, no? I think everybody knows how to play games. It's just meron lang mga different types of games na yung iba mas high-tech, mas maganda yung graphics, yung iba naman mas more on casual lang. But bottom line, all of these games are still made by people, no? Like people that are living here in the Philippines.
We're trying.
We're trying. No, I think there are some games, no, that are actually really, or should I say, partly built or made in the Philippines, di ba, Sai?
Yes. Tama naman yun.
So, tingin mo ba, uh, kailan ba nagsimula to? I mean, we, we know that there are some companies here in the Philippines that are actually into yung 3D animation, matagal na eh, di ba? But game development, we recently heard Ubisoft few years back, no? They set up the house here in Laguna.
Yes.
So, pero in reality, kailan ba nagsimula tong game development dito sa Philippines?
Historically, the first game development studio was established in 2001. Okay, so that's the first, and in that studio, yung Anino, um, it took them a couple of years, of course, to produce their own game. The game didn't flourish, but still, in our history, that was the first registered studio. And then by that time, marami nang siyempre nakapansin sa Pilipinas. I mean, we're not just presenting to the world as a tourist spot. I mean, we do have technology. We do have, highly skilled people in this country. So by 2007, they organized the Game Developers Association of the Philippines. I believe there were around seven companies who signed up. More than half of them actually were doing outsourced work for games. I mean, um, games are I mean, even mobile games, they take a long while to build, especially when you talk about, there are large scale mobile games, there are large scale PC games, and of course, console games. In console games, the average development time is at least 2 years,
Wow.
and you and you need hundreds of people working on it. And so that was our first taste. Um, in the Philippines, predominantly most of the businesses in video game development are into the outsource phase and support, technical support and customer support service for games. But our footprint, the entire footprint of the Philippine footprint in gaming is getting larger and larger, definitely by the year. So for the past, for since 2007, um, we've been promoting the existence of the Philippines in that scene in video games. And frankly, it's still surprising to me that a lot of people are surprised when I say I'm in game development and two, that I'm from the Philippines. It still
So,
fascinates me.
do you really see a career on game development in the Philippines?
My God, I've been president for a decade. There better be. There
Okay.
better be. A great advantage that we have in the Philippines is we do have a game design and development course, which also started 10 years ago.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, so, and now in association, we have around, I think, six or seven very strong higher learning institutions who are teaching. Now, this is not a short course. This is a full 4-year baccalaureate degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, over time, it gets better and better.
Okay.
Those schools are getting better and better staff, better equipment. It's not getting any cheaper, but that's games.
Yeah.
It's
How much are we looking at ba?
only around 190 billion dollars worldwide.
That's big. That's
I mean,
big.
I'm talking about kasi syempre a lot of our viewers might be interested, no? So, if they want to actually study game development as a BS degree, no?
Mhm.
How much are we looking at ba?
It depends from school to school, but I don't want to say publicly, but it's not it's one of the more expensive courses
Mm-hmm.
More
out there. You
expensive?
have because man, if you're going to study game development,
Uh-huh.
the equipment that the school is giving you or lending you must be top notch. The
Okay.
internet must be there as well,
Okay.
and high speed internet in this country is it's hard to find, and two, it's expensive. So having those labs, so we call them labs. Um, not all schools have. Not all schools have.
Sir, since napag-usapan na rin about game
Mm,
developer at sinabi nyo rin na matagal na rin siyang nag-exist, especially sa mga courses. So,
mm.
meron bang like specific course na kailangan kunin uh, to be able
Prerequisites?
to get to the path of game development?
Well, actually, wala naman talaga. I mean, in my generation, when I got into game development 10 years ago, everybody was self-taught. I
Mhm.
mean, mostly. I mean, programmers came from, engineering courses, computer science courses. The artists, not even all of them came from fine arts. A lot of them were self-taught. We are just lucky,
Uh-huh.
that there is a course that will, help the students get the skills in a shorter amount of time.
Mhm.
I mean, that's it. Eh. And it's not guaranteed that if you graduate from that course, that you'll even get a position. Diba? I mean, any course that you take in college naman. But it's there. That's why in GDAP, it's important that the schools are part of our membership. So we continue to enrich their course curriculum throughout the years. We participate as professionals. We participate in the learning of the students. We judge in their competitions. We judge in their capstones, their thesis. We are speakers for the trends. We inform the students on what's happening in game development, whether it's programming or art and design. We introduce them to speakers from all around the world, and that is very, very important. That is very our linkage is not only nationwide but around the world.
Which is actually very important, no?
Extremely.
Yeah. Pero, siguro, let's say, if I studied game development in one of the schools here in the
Mhm.
country, are there any specialization that they're offering? Or if you align that to the role, no? What are the roles ba na pag pumasok ako sa industry,
Mm.
ano yung mga roles na kailangan para or usually na hinahanap ng mga game development companies?
Okay. So for employment purposes, so there are really two big skill sets in game development. It's not hard to figure it out. One is obviously the engineering side, the software side. People coming from programming. That's the left brain dominant people,
Mhm.
I believe. And then the other side is the visual side or the art side, and that's the right brain dominant people. So these are the two groups that if you're looking for a to get into the industry, these would be generally the career paths that you would take. You either be a programmer, an engineer, or an artist. There are many, and then combinations of that and variations of that are many, obviously. And these are the biggest numbers of employment opportunities. I mean, we don't have to talk about becoming a producer or even a game designer. Those come in. Of course, those are required. But in a company, 90% of people are either programmers or artists. That's the general rule.
Since you mentioned programming, no?
Mhm.
Ano ba yung required na technology or language na the, the students should study or focus on when they want to go into the game development industry? Ano ba
Mm,
usually ginagamit natin to build the games?
yeah, I've been asked a question many times, and the most important language you should learn is English.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I
That's
strongly
true, that's
agree on
true.
that. English nga
I
naman.
I agree,
Kasi
I
syempre,
agree.
halos lahat naman ng games natin is in English language, no?
Yeah.
Especially if,
Especially no, I say that because it's one of the skills that Filipinos we brag around the world that Filipinos are English speakers, but even that is getting scarce nowadays. And for students, they need to pick it up and polish it. It's a very powerful tool for business, not just for ordering Starbucks. That kidding aside, half meant to joking. Uh, this generation is so lucky, these engineers, because now we have game engines. I have a lot of friends who came from the AAA industry, and back in the day, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were rock stars because not anybody had just become a game developer. You really had to have, hard skills in C++.
Yeah.
Oh, wala pang C Sharp nun eh. Oh,
Yep.
C++. Oh,
hardcore.
syempre, may nagka-Java pa nun.
Yep.
Ganun talaga yun. And very rare, very rare talaga makakuha ng opportunity. Now we have engines and it's become so democratic that almost anyone, can download the software for free, if it's personal, and claim to be a game developer. You don't even need a degree.
Yeah.
So, so I get, but there's a lot of advantages nowadays for people. If you're just curious, you just want to know, what makes a game run, tick, fly, float. Um, download, download. You know, there are two dominant game engines. I don't want to mention it, but they're really not hard to find. So yeah, this generation is lucky, and I think it's right because the industry has exploded. We need to get more people in this industry. Earlier, I mentioned it's supposed to be 190 billion dollars, but
Mm, yeah.
that's worldwide.
Okay.
So if you ask me, how much does the Philippines get from that? 0.01%.
0.01. Still, 0.01, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our goal in GDAP actually is to get to 2%
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay.
someday. That talaga, yun ang goal namin.
Pero
That
I
is our
think
hard goal.
possible naman siyang ma-reach, no? Kasi ako, I personally believe na Filipinos are more creative eh.
Mhm.
And not to mention, mas maganda yung logic at matyaga. Does
Correct.
it really apply do sa mga based on your experience?
Oh, definitely, pare. In my personal professional experience, I'm more on the art side. That's proven. We are world class. I'll fight with anyone on it. We
Okay.
are world class. I've been doing AAA art for as long as I've been in game development. We are good. Not just good. We're better than most. Our challenge right now is really on the software development side.
Pero
Okay.
Um,
what are the challenges that we're facing right now? Bakit I think majority ng mga game development studio is just in Manila.
mm,
We have few in QC in
mm,
Pasig, tapos Makati,
mm,
then Laguna.
mm,
But we don't see those studios outside the NCR area or in Visayas and Mindanao, di ba?
there are a few.
What's stopping us? Kulang ba ang
Well,
uh,
definitely the talent is still in Metro Manila because all the top universities are here. Um, And years back, one of the challenges was infrastructure. Just like any other business on technology, you need good infrastructure, internet, which I believe is being addressed now.
Well, yeah. And pero does it mean na kumbaga, do you recommend that students or people who wants to get in should go to Manila to study? Or what? Kumbaga, ano yung roadmap nila to start get started? If, is it really required na do you recommend na mag-aral sila ng 4-year course? Or they could
Definitely.
just
I
do
mean, you can never replace good education. You get good education where you can find it. If you can't go to Metro Manila, I mean, there are other good universities out there in the Visayas and even in Mindanao. You can choose courses which can just train you. I mean, again, choose which you have to know your strong suit. Are you right brained or left brained? Diba? And what most excellent people I've worked with, whether they're from the left or from the right, art or programming, the people that really excelled in their career in game development are those that learned it after school hours. People who push afterwards.
mga
People who,
self-taught?
yeah,
Self-taught.
not even taught it, but I mean, pare, if you think about it, school. I mean, how many hours do you spend in school really? After the traffic, before the traffic, you're barely there. What 4 hours at least. May lunch break ka pa, may yossi break ka pa. Atake ka pa ng barkada mo, 3 hours in a school year. You face it. So it
Marami
wasn't Excel. You
marami
talagang
nakaka-relate dyan, no, Sai?
especially yung nagpa-participate sa mga events. Like right now, it's ano ba yan? It's Feb. January, Feb. This is the game jam season. Right now, there are 4 game jams that we're promoting to the Philippine population. It's free to join. Try to make a game, make a prototype, and try to get it published. So these are the people who get to learn really really fast. So when we're interviewing in our offices, when we need people, tinitingnan namin yon. Sumali ba ng game jam? Sumali ba ng ESGS? You gotta be in the scene. It will work for you.
So what you're saying is really people who really loves to get in should be more active, so just not just in study but also in the community.
Yeah, yes, I believe, especially in game development. One thing I tell a lot of people is, you know, nakakatuwa tong industry nito because we are what we do. We are what we do. In the office, we make games, we're slaves to the project. And when we get home, what do? We
Play.
play games.
It's games
Di ba? Ang
24/7.
engineer, pag nasa, nag-engineer, nag-design, nag-build. Pagdating sa bahay, Netflix.
Pwede,
Okay.
Di
pwede.
ba? Oh,
Pero right now ba, how big is the industry here in the Philippines?
uh, okay. The biggest employers right now are actually the ones in game support. Game
Okay.
support. Those are the companies in GDAP that have over 300 personnel, and that's a lot. That's a
So
lot to carry.
just for the benefit of our viewers, no, when you say game support, what are these people doing?
Uh, in a game, let's, for example, a PC game. You're playing a typical MMO game, and when you're building your character, you start purchasing some stuff. A silver cape or something. And then some point in time, something happens, something goes wrong. Next time you log in, it's gone. So you get angry. So you press that chat button, that help button. Say, where's my silver cape?
So it's more of the parang siyang call center support, parang BP,
But specific for
specific to
games.
games,
Yeah,
no?
specific for games. There's a lot of, again, may variety rin yan. Besides that straightforward technical support, there are some game moderators.
Mhm.
So these are people who will um, build tasks, build campaigns,
Okay.
para buhay na buhay yung community. Because a game only makes money after it's produced,
Yes.
after it's published, not during. Di ba?
Okay.
So, importante itong mga tao nakabackup sa game.
I
So ito
see.
ba mga game moderators, kailangan ba nakababad sila?
Kailangan marunong sila.
Kailangan
Kailangan
marunong.
marunong sila.
Okay.
They must know what the game is.
Okay.
Pero how do they start? So they literally play the game or there's a training for them? How does it
No,
work?
but when by the time they apply, they should know the game.
So
Okay.
talagang
Yeah.
usually ito yung mga jobs na para sa mga hardcore gamer
Yeah.
nung specific game.
And I have a question, sir.
Mm.
Since nabanggit niya na parang merong mga like agent talaga, parang
Mm.
call center agent na uh, to support pagka may problem yung game.
Yeah.
Um, kunyari, meron akong nilalaro.
Mm.
It's a, kunyari, parang, um, parang, parang Final Fantasy type of game.
Mm.
And meron akong isang stage na boss na hindi ko talaga siya mabit. So, meron ba dito, kunyari tumawag ako, parang, hey, patulong naman, paano ko ba matatalo to? Ano yung mga kailangan ko? Meron ba? Kasi may napanood ako sa Netflix na documentary about parang
Yeah, yeah.
games through the years. Meron na dati nun eh. So, may existing ba dito sa Pilipinas na
Ganyan.
Well,
they're gonna answer your call para ma-beat yung game?
the thing is with game support, you're not supposed to know where it's coming from. You can be calling from anywhere in the world, and that voice that's answering you or that's chatting you, you don't care where it's coming from. Diba? You can't really say I'm from the Philippines. That's why I can answer you. There must. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is because there's also technical support that's available. You know, what if someone poured coffee over your Xbox or meron din nun, di ba? Maraming klase. But that kind, I saw the same movie. I just haven't tried it because I'm a Google expert. If there's something I don't know, I Google it myself.
Mhm.
I don't pick up the phone. Pero meron. So kaya nga, kaya dito siguro sa Philippines sila yung largest employers natin. Because Filipinos, ano yan eh, when they get into a game, they tend to dig deeper and deeper into it, and we love to complain.
Mhm.
Tama naman. Pero ito bang mga specifically for the game support, no? Kailangan ba graduate sila or
Actually, hindi.
basta marunong ka lang maglaro ng game?
Well, there's also kailangan maayos kang tao. I mean, you have to be orderly.
Yeah.
Yan. Oh, in other words, you have to arrive on time to your
Yep.
job.
Yeah, discipline, no?
Discipline
Discipline.
talaga.
Of course,
The
hindi natin
basics.
hindi natin in-encourage yung mga students, no,
Yeah.
na mag-drop at
No.
mag-apply bilang game support agent, no? But what we're saying is that there are actually jobs, no, that
Mhm.
are available for people who are really into that
Yep.
kumbaga support.
Yeah.
Pero
Yeah.
that is for the operational part ng game eh.
Yeah. That's
What
correct.
about the development side? Kasi that's one thing na hindi nakikita ng tao eh. I mean, we're used to BPO, di ba? I
Yep.
mean, all of us, all business naman, we have a pseudo call center here in the Philippines for almost any industry.
Yep. That's correct.
What about the development?
There we go. So uh, definitely we are in dire need of better and better programmers. I mentioned this earlier. Na that's one of our current challenges because of the existence of game engines. Now, these game engines, they're so easy to learn from zero to beginner because a lot of them are drag and drop, and then click, click here, and then wow, you have something moving. You can declare it's a game. There's a lot of people, students, who just do that, drag and drop, and then package it, and then claim they're a game developer. And then we ask them, okay, so this is your thesis. Looks like you did it in 3 days. Nagturo nga drag and drop. Ang laki ng file mo. Can you extend it? Do you know how to extend it with C Sharp? Sir, freshman pa ako tinuruan ng C Sharp. Ah! So they forget na yung drag and drop functions and usability ng game engines. That's for newbies. But we're supposed to be professionals. We're supposed to be able to fine tune the products we create. So you still need to know how to program. So the two most important languages right now, C Sharp, well, C++, and then C Sharp. Edison, you're a programmer. If you know C++, you know everything because
Hindi
it's
naman
all
eh.
syntax after that.
Of course, I
It's all
mean,
syntax after that. So
almost all programming languages are the same. It's just the syntax nga naman.
marami
And
na natakot. At ito pa, wala na nagtulad ng C++ sa Metro Manila. When we asked the teachers, meron pa sa probinsya. So baka ka mas maganda pa na mag-aral ka ng programming sa probinsya.
yeah, pero I think if you study kasi in college, no, yung
Mhm.
C++ na tinuturo yung level is very basic eh.
Very basic. And there's no
So,
practice.
you're not even able to build, let's say, a Windows desktop application eh.
Wala.
Most of the time, puro nasa
It's
console
like
lang.
intro to C++. So,
Yeah, it's actually a good, ano, no, good way to start, no, para ma-enhance yung logic. Pero, like in the US, di ba, parang, I heard, puro Python na yung
mhm.
pinaka-baseline nila doon eh.
Yeah.
Not even C++. So, Python is now becoming the de facto language for graduates kasi first year yun yung tinuturo sa kanila. Here in the Philippines, we're just slowly going there,
Slowly. Very slowly.
very slowly. Yeah. Pero
Uh,
bakit nga pala ano? Uh, I mean, of course, the reason behind C Sharp it's because of the game engine.
yeah, yun ang ano.
Most of it is built on C Sharp then. So, in order for you to extend it, it's C Sharp pa rin yung gamit, no?
Correct.
Pero aside from ano, C Sharp and of course the game engine, ano pang mga usual na pwede nilang gamitin?
I don't know why, but people still speak of Java. I mean, it's still useful.
Pero do you
Uh,
see Java as a major ano, parang back-end for games? I think meron naman
meron
kasi for
naman.
the APIs and the
Yeah,
other
meron naman.
Yeah.
Meron naman. But building the game itself, it's
the
usually C++.
actual game itself is not built on Java, but
Most are
mostly
not.
on the server
Again,
side.
we're talking general. Because you
Yeah.
could use anything to build a game.
Yeah.
Gamitin ko PowerPoint. Eh.
Pero 'di ba usually ang 'pag ginamit ang Java programming language is like before pagka yun yung ginamit mo mobile games yun, right?
Yan.
Di ba, yung mga naka-cellphone na
Nung
Nokia
panahon
before,
ng Nokia
right?
yon.
Uh,
Kasi 'di ba yung Nokia is Java talaga yung
Yep.
gamit eh.
Symbian kasi yung
Oo.
OS nila. Yan.
Pero for the mobile games right now, ano ba usually ang favorite na ginagamit?
Uh, Second to yun. Eh. Well, I guess I have to mention brands na.
Ah,
Statistics say that 64% of the current world's game developers use Unity right now.
Unity.
It's the most popular. It's free for personal use.
Maganda yan. Free for personal use.
Yeah.
So you could download it and start learning it, no?
Yep.
And of course, merong YouTube, merong,
Yes, the College
Yeah.
of YouTube,
yeah, the College of YouTube,
College of Facebook. And of course, the University of Google.
Yep.
University of Google. Ayan, so actually, mabilis lang pala, ano, kumbaga, mag-start.
Yeah.
Pero, tingin mo ba, bakit parang marami pa rin nidi-discourage?
Because a lot of kids find it hard. It's hard. A lot of kids now would rather choose the easy path. Ganun
Pero,
yun.
if they're already learning programming, based on your experience, no, what's stopping them? Ano ba yung meron sa game development na masasabi mong iba siya sa regular programming or regular development ng software?
Oh, the handling of graphics. That's kind of hard to
So yung
put for a lot of
integration
people.
ng graphics, no,
Yeah.
which is usually naman, as we know, iba naman yung tao na gumagawa ng 3D graphics, no, then you need to integrate it to the actual logic,
Yeah.
yung program
And then
mo.
another big one is besides after the handling of graphics, physics.
Oh, physics.
Yan
Eh,
ang pamparesign.
Yan,
Diba?
yan talaga yung ano eh, yung tipong nasa high school ka tapos di mo masyadong pinapansin madalas.
Yeah, kala mo,
Yeah.
para saan ba yan? Geometry, para saan ba yan?
Yeah.
Biglang pagdating mo na
Eh, same goes, di ba sabi nila parang nag-IT ako kasi ayaw ko ng math. Pero it turns out, puro logic and partly math pa rin.
Yeah.
Pero actually, very important yung mathematics, no?
Very,
And physics sa game
Yes.
development.
Very.
So, sorry sa mga hindi nag-aral ng mabuti.
Kamote kayo.
Kailangan yung humabol.
I
Okay,
mean,
ano naman eh, it's never too late. But of
Yes,
course, you need to start, no? And focus. And sabi nga natin kanina, discipline. Now, with the recent situation, no, pandemic ngayon, how's the growth of the industry?
Yun nga eh, parang even if you've been following video games during the lockdown, everyone's affected in the lockdown. I mean, operation-wise, But being game developers, yung na-realize namin over a year ago, we have to work from home. Medyo lahat kami. Nakasmile. Yeah. And okay, because the way game development became popular, especially mobile game development, uh, the country that popularized it was Finland.
Finland.
Yeah. Um,
Is it because of Nokia?
they're part of the story. So in
Okay.
Finland, it's because of the weather. So their winter is covers probably half the year.
Okay.
And as the story goes, during that time, they heard that these Americans were buying all these Ataris and Commodore 64s, back in the day. And they realized, hey, we should know more about this because you can do this anywhere. Because in Finland, when it's winter, if you go out of your house, you die. So they needed to find an industry that they could do in the comforts of their home.
Hmm.
So boom, and then Nokia was there. So Nokia was really part of the story. So during that time, Finnish people bought as much of those devices, yung mga Commodore 64, those old gaming consoles, per capita, they were buying as much as the Americans because they wanted to learn and they reverse engineered everything from the hardware to the software and they started building games at home. Nokia gave them a platform. They go, hey, there's this former boot making company now making mobile phones, and wow, they asked us to put our games on their phone. Then there was Angry Birds. So
Well,
that's how. Yeah, so that's the culture of most. That's the logic of most game developers. Stay at home, work from home. Sure, you know.
masaya nga naman.
Obviously, well, my job is generally for console development. So we still have to have our office. Our our network is still there. It's still being maintained. So, but for most of us, we're okay. And the industry, um, since lockdown, guy, it got na fast forward siya by 2 or 3 years. The spending was up like 60% globally. Globally, spending on games. So, maganda yung nangyari sa games. But for the rest of the world, stop. That's why it's hard to brag about it.
Pero you started working from home, so you send your PC from the office to your home, something like that.
In many cases, that was ganun ang ginawa. In many cases. It's just for higher security projects, you have to maintain security according to your clients. So like kami, since we've been working with Xbox for 6 years, um, the security could not be broken, so we had to do other things which I cannot talk about. But generally, most everyone else, even the support guys, they're happy to work from home. Again, the biggest challenge was
Internet.
Internet. All as always.
Pero since ano nagbago sa workflow nyo? I mean just to give a glimpse no sa
Mhm.
mga syempre gustong mag-apply din.
Mhm.
How do you actually collaborate when you're already at home working? Ano yung nagbago? Kasi syempre when you're dealing with games like or from the very basic yung graphics na lang, mabibigat eh.
Yeah.
So paano yung workflow? How do you collaborate
Well,
now?
actually, nothing much had changed. It's just that you have to call more online meetings right now. Thank God it's easier with all the choices that we have. Nothing much has changed really. Um, but obviously, now you mentioned kasi graphics. Ito na yung challenge. Again, because of the internet, it's slower. Because our files, especially when you get into 3D, you're talking about gigs a day. So if you're using the cheapest available internet package out there, to throw it back to your office, 2 gig, how long does that take you? And then, of course, di ba? You're lucky if you have a system which would sync. But obviously, kahit mabilis yung syncing kasi, it depends on everybody's speeds. Now, mabilis yung internet sa office, pero sa bahay mabagal. So syncing, and then you have multiple users. something will go wrong. So yeah, so again, it's an infrastructure challenge, But since this is a global pandemic, even clients understand. They loosened up some things. Everybody has to adjust to this new norm. But everybody, things are a bit slower. But we are lucky that we can still deliver.
Pero it is the local industry, I mean the game development companies are growing,
I believe so. It's ang nakita kong mahirap is hiring.
hiring.
Hmm. We need a lot of people. I'm into art, but usually kasi our interviews are face to face. We talk, and yeah, I know you're gonna say, Alvin, may Zoom naman, or I know, but there's still something missing. So besides the interview, if I hire you, no matter how good you are, I still have to train you. Okay, and again, with the infrastructure challenges, we find it a bit difficult. Not impossible, but difficult.
Ano yung pinaka mahirap na hinahanap mo when you're hiring? I mean, ano yung pinaka, sabi nating, pinapagawa mo na pinaka-challenging?
Hmm.
Sa
Pinaka-
mga gusto mag-apply, no, di ba? Para lang din mapaghandaan nila siguro.
Yeah.
Ako, ang pinaka-frustration ko, usually, is portfolio. Mag-a-apply ka nga, interesado ka nga, you play games nga. Mag-a-apply ka, pero ang pepresenta mo sa akin portfolio, how siya? Hindi naman bagay sa games. Mag-a-apply ka sa akin, triple A ako. Papakita mo sa akin pang high school. Tama ba yon? Di ba? They forget the value of what a portfolio is. You're supposed to brag how good you are, not how
Yes.
bad you are, not
Mhm.
how
Yes,
much
yes.
training you need. Kasi nangyayari, naging consultants kami for better portfolios eh. Di ba?
Wow.
Di ba? Yeah, well, I don't know why people miss that. But sir, I came from this course, so dapat tanggapin niyo ako. Dapat nga, pero yung portfolio mo, ang sama. Programmer ka. Okay, magaling ka mag-program. Okay, anong project mo ginawa sa school? Ay, sir, ito yung last na ginawa namin. Sige, can you show me? Pero sir, hindi namin natapos. Ba't di mo natapos?
Yan lang.
Patay. So how can I hire you?
Pero ito yung magandang tanong eh. Do you accept the thesis as a portfolio?
Yeah, of course. Brag about your thesis. Yeah.
Pero
Of
how
course,
do
sir.
you actually gauge them based on their thesis? Kasi usually, karamihan ng, even I myself, I'm interviewing people, no? And you would normally see their resume na yun lang yung nagawa nila, even if you ask them for the past 3 to 4 years of their college life. So, how do you gauge them on that?
What was your role?
Well, let's just say, isa-isay natin, as a programmer muna.
Say that. So what, yung tanong ko, so this your, okay, what was your role? Ilang
Okay.
kayo sa team? Ilan yung same role mo?
Aha.
Again.
Mm,
First, you have to try to catch it and see if that person is lying. Eh. Di
Yes.
ba? The really good ones will say, well, actually, sir, anim kami, pero ako talaga yung nag-program. Yung iba, sabit lang, support lang. Customer support lang
so,
yung
so
iba.
that's a keyword.
So basically, hinuhuli niyo sir kung sino yung mga free riders.
Yeah. So, yan o guys. So, sa mga nakikinig na students dyan, wag lang kayong maging documentation guys.
Yeah. Kailangan
Pangit
hands-on
yun.
din kayo doon sa
Kailangan meron din
project.
kayong actual na ginawa.
And they built it because when they explain their thesis, they know what they're talking about.
Yes.
Pero ito, fresh grad,
Hmm.
how big is the chance na ma-hire sila?
Depends if you're really good.
Ano yung basis mo ng level of goodness?
Yes.
Yeah, portfolio.
Portfolio
First,
talaga.
portfolio. Whether you're
So,
a
you
programmer or
guys, you need
artist.
to impress, no?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
future employer, no?
Yes.
Definitely.
For you, ano yung pinaka the best na present nila portfolio? In what approach or in what way? Just to ano lang, are they showing you their website with whatever stuff they have done? Or,
No, everybody does it with links nowadays. So,
Mhm.
diba, you show us. Some can even just YouTube the project that they've done.
Yes.
Uh, in my, ito nga, again, we're lucky in the Philippines that we have GDAP and then we're involved in schools. So a lot of times we actually know the students while they're in school,
Okay.
you know,
So
and
you're saying it's pretty small
pretty
uh
small industry,
group
buddy.
in this. I mean,
Oh,
yeah. How many are studying right now based on your latest numbers?
studying.
I mean in the course ng game development in the Philippines.
Mm, I think only yung talagang GDD with the schools that are CHED certified, siguro right now, actually kumonte. Siguro mga 400, 500 lang.
400 to 500
Okay.
people. And
Mm.
how many yung gaano karami yung requirement ng industry? Para lang malaman din, no?
Mukhang
Meron pa ba
malaki ang
silang ano? Kasi
kailangan
'di
ng
ba parang
Pilipinas,
yung
ah.
nursing before sobrang nag-overproduce tayo ng nursing eh.
Ah,
Yes.
tama yan.
Pero sa game development, no? Gaano karami yung kailangan ng local industry in the Philippines right now, 2021. And of course, for the next 5 years.
I you know, it's kind of hard to ano. If if there are around 400, 500 students studying, you're talking about 4 years. Uh,
May drop off pa yun,
drop
syempre.
off pa yon. And then, again, not the hiring rate, the quality of graduates, it needs improvement. So if in a year, sabihin mo na combined yung mga members namin na maka 150 graduates, out of the 150, how many are quality? Sabihin mo ng, let's be generous. Sabihin mo ng 40% are hireable. Okay. It's not much.
So
That's not,
marami
ubus. Ubus yun. Oo.
So what you're saying is sobrang kulang.
Kulang pa. Oo. Kulang
And
pa.
there's a lot of opportunity for, upcoming potential
Mm.
na gagraduate ng course ng game development.
And one, and to whoever who views this, personally, although I'm an employee, I've always worked for a studio. Um, do not limit yourself to employment. Yun nga maganda sa democracy ng game development. Make your own. Try to make your own. Uh, that's something we have to change in Philippine education. We are actually taught in school to be good
To be
employees,
an employee. Tama naman,
Yeah.
no?
hindi entrepreneur.
Pero syempre, hindi rin naman lahat ng tao talagang kaya maging
Yes.
entrepreneur.
We
But
just
of
need more.
course, yeah, but of course, there's always a chance, no, for you to jump, no,
Mhm.
from being an employee.
Yeah.
Or maybe roadmap mo is really geared towards from, yung iba kasi, maswerte, pag graduate pa lang, may budget ang pamilya, they were able to really kickstart whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And para lang siguro sa mga gusto magsarili, no? I mean, to build their own games and to self-publish. Ano ba yung requirement? Or how does it work?
You need balls of steel.
Kasi 'di ba meron tayong mga local indie
Yeah, we have an indie scene.
indie
Definitely,
scene.
we're part
How
of
big
that.
is the indie scene here?
Not that big. Not that
Pero
big.
syempre sa mga listeners natin, no, when you say indie, how do you define indie?
People who make these are one man, 2 man, 3 man teams who build their games from the comforts, who usually are on their houses, on their own free time. Diba? They can do it part time. They can have a day job
Yeah.
and then do it at night. Or there are some people na talagang focused. The pag-graduate pa lang, they have the support and they just do it 24/7. They build their own game. Again, being very democratic nga. So building games is democratic. That's a given. And now even publishing games is democratic. As long as you have an account, Google and Apple,
So you're referring to the Google Play Store
yeah, for
and
mobile games.
iOS
Yeah.
na
And then
developer
there's
account.
Steam. Ang dami ng choices ngayon to try and make money from your own game.
Is it
Kung pumatok ha.
kung pumatok? That's a question, no?
Yeah.
What is the chance ba? I mean, based on your experience, no?
Less than 2%.
So it's really a big risk kasi
Oh, yeah.
we're talking about
Oh, yeah.
less than 2% of the games. I mean,
Yeah.
yung chances of winning is less than 2%.
That's so witty. You're right. You're right. think of it that way. Chances of winning.
Pero there are kasi parang accidental winners
Yep. Yep. I
Like
know a few stories, but
I remember a few years back we have the Flappy Bird race.
Yes.
It's like parang everybody's crazy about it.
Yes.
Pero I don't know if they earn big.
they did.
They did, di ba?
They
Did.
did.
Kano ba kinita nila doon if you don't mind? Or if you still remember it?
$50,000 a day.
$50,000 a
They were
day, no?
Vietnamese.
And how many people built that game?
3.
3 people. So possible, no? Pwede,
Possible siya.
sabi nga nila kung merong pera sa basura, merong pera sa game development.
So ito nga, now, talking about that, because not all games have to be big. Flappy
Yeah.
Bird is a tiny, tiny game, you know. And earlier, when I introduced myself, I also mentioned that this is the season of game jams.
Mhm.
Okay, exactly. The stars are aligning. The game jams, 3 of the game jams out of the 4, we're promoting them because there's now a trend of what is called hyper casual games.
Hyper casual
Oh,
games.
Okay.
hyper casual games. So these are really small games. Uh, Usually they're repeating and never ending.
Okay.
Okay, and you know,
Can you give us an example? Siguro para makarelate yung mga viewers
Flappy
and
Bird.
listeners natin. Flappy Bird, of course.
Because you don't know when that will end. Because the bird will just fly and fly and fly forever. If you could do it, right?
Yes.
So yeah, if you don't, you do it again. So that's never ending. So
I
games
see.
like that, apparently it has been trending over the last few years, and there are some publishers that just became experts in marketing. You know, just face it. You know, besides video games, there's social media, and with social media and all these omnibus types of marketing, there can be clues that pop up in your social media. Hey, you want to try this game or something?
Yes.
Download now. And oh, biglang maliit lang yung file. Boom. Yung pala, it's a hyper casual game. Small game.
Yeah.
And generally, for hyper casual games, the revenue model is only from ads. Walang in-app purchase. Oh, so marami pala. Imagine, we have 4 game jams. Tatlo are promoting hyper casual games.
Wow.
Biglang, yung isa nga, ang theme, runners. Oh my
Runners.
God, runners! Parang, hindi ba that's so 3 years ago or something?
Parang Temple Run lang yun.
Temple Run.
Diba sumikat yung Temple
now
Run
it's
eh?
coming back to fashion.
Yeah.
Oh,
Grabe
diba?
yung Temple Run.
I think there are a lot of copycat na runner started from Temple Run eh. Like I saw the game from yung
It's too many choices, pal.
too many
I made one.
Madami. Madami.
Pero so you're mentioning earlier no the way the game developers earn from it kanina is not through through ads lang no.
Mhm.
What are the other kumbaga revenue generating possibility?
Ways of earning from a game.
Oh,
So,
what
just
are
like
the
that,
ways to earn from a game if you
Uh,
develop one?
well, if you're lucky, one, a bigger company will buy that game from you and make a better version of it.
Okay.
But rarely does that happen. The easiest one definitely is from ads. It's usually very small. It takes an amount of time. Second one is we call it IAPs, in-app purchase. So you give the user a chance to buy something and upgrades, more life,
Yeah.
mga Candy Crushers out there. More life. Ang daming credit card na sunog dahil sa more life na kailangan sa Candy
More
Crush
life.
sa bansa. Siyempre, skins for Mobile Legends.
Yun lang.
Patay tayo dyan. And another way besides that, that was fashionable before, very hard to get, was through subscription.
Subscription. So parang World of Warcraft
Dati.
dati.
So dati rin, meron mga subscriptions sa mobile games. Some people will offer you a buffet of games for only a month or a year. Diba? Yung mga ganon. So that's
Ngayon,
another way
ang
to earn.
nakikita ko ngayon madalas may bundle na eh. Yung mga lumang games binabundle nila so that
Yes, for a
it would-
price of something.
Yeah,
Yep.
tama.
Oh.
Tama naman.
Sabi nga nila, pag gusto mo ng games, huwag ka muna bumili on launch day. Kasi after a few months, babagsak siya. Tapos sometimes after 1 year, may bundle na yun with something
Ah,
else.
sobra.
Diba? That's how you actually save money from buying games. So, pero syempre, it's a good thing pa rin to buy, no? Para naman masuportahan natin yung mga game developer.
Totoo naman.
Oo.
Pero
Payat na kami.
kanina nabanggit mo lang, no, na curious lang ako. You mentioned the first one na bibili ng mas malaking publisher yung game mo.
Mm.
How do they get noticed by this publisher? Paano yung diskarte?
Okay. So, especially to the indie developers. Well, back in the day, when we could talk face to face with other people, that's so long ago. Uh, you are pretty much forced to introduce yourself and pitch your game in many events. There are a lot of game events around the world.
So more on game events. Pupunta
Yeah,
talaga sa event,
yeah.
then you
You
actually try
pitch.
to
You pitch.
pitch.
Yeah, you pitch.
So is there a session there na you really meet this
Yeah,
or
in a lot of countries, usually some publishers would announce, "We're coming to your country. Please gather at this place." And yeah, other people, even in the Philippines, nangyayari yun. Kaya nga, and usually they course it through GDAP. So again, that's another purpose of GDAP. If you want to meet Philippine game developers, we could set up a meeting for you. We
so,
can gather the the studios or the freelancers out there.
so you actually connect them directly to
Yeah,
the publishers.
yeah.
How would they reach GDAP?
I invented this thing called the internet and email, para. Emails,
So
messaging.
guys, email nyo lang si GDAP, no?
Yeah,
Especially for those
email,
developers
Facebook.
out there.
Facebook is always good. Send us a message on Facebook.
So GDAP is on Facebook then.
But again, and this is the sad thing. 90% of the messages that we get on GDAP do not make sense.
When you say do not make sense, what are you referring to? Medyo na-curious ako dyan, ah.
Gawa kami ng game, di namin matapos. Patulong naman.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Ganon.
maybe it's because of if it's the name of the organization, game developer.
Yes, pero mag-message sa amin ganon. Gawa kami ng game, patulong naman. That is the message. How do you want me to reply?
Mahirap nga naman yun.
Oo. Di ba?
So,
You
guys-
have to, again, you have to make sense. Your message has to be properly composed and properly addressed. Dear GDAP, I'm a graduating student and we need this. We will answer you. Pag ganun yung tono, may sense. We will answer you.
So if it makes sense. Pero ano pa ba yung mga ino-offer, no? Aside sa pag-link sa mga publishers, ano pa yung ino-offer ng GDAP? Para lang din sa kalaman ng mga viewers natin.
Okay, so besides that, we promote Philippine game development. Again, back in the day when we could actually jump on airplanes, that's so long ago. We garnered a lot of government support in conventions around the world. We've been to San Francisco, Korea, Taiwan, Canada. I've been to Finland, pare. And all this with coordination of the government, and it's an official party. It's an official event, and those things are, for me, hard to replace.
So, meron naman palang suporta yung government
Pero
sa
naman, I mean, it's not
industry.
complete support and it's
Yeah.
not steady support, but there was a time that we were getting a lot of support. There were 2, 3 years that it was just incredible. It was just incredible, and I will always thank them for that. Meron naman. And again, if there are some people like the Japanese, there are some talks. The Japanese will talk to their embassy. We want to meet Filipino artists in games. Okay, then they will talk to our embassy. The embassy will call me. Set up a meeting, set up an event. Ganyan.
Okay.
With regards to these companies hiring here, no?
Mhm.
Kasi kanina we're talking about game companies here in the Philippines. What about those people who are actually hired outside the country? How big is the numbers versus the local one?
Oh, yeah, tama.
Nag-OFW sa game.
OFW, pero
hindi pa
game
ganun karami.
development.
I mean, there are a few, but thank God it's not a lot.
Okay.
Kasi di ba parang naririnig nga sa news once in a while, no? Parang, the animator for this game or
Yeah.
sometimes nga movie pa eh, di ba?
Mostly movies.
Yes.
Mostly movies, no?
Yeah.
Actually, dito rin kasi ginagawa yung mga yung ibang mga
You
animation
are
for
correct.
movies,
You are
no?
correct. Yeah.
Pati yung mga cutscenes sa mga games natin,
Yep.
both Xbox and PlayStation and even
Yeah.
PC games.
Yeah. But I think the more famous people really come from the animation side. Mas sanay yung general population at its animation. Diba sa games, di pa masyado.
Mas marami bang mga programmer na Filipinos in game industry or mas marami tayong animator na we are really proud of?
I think, guys,
Ang hirap
well,
ng tanong, eh, no?
hirap tanong na yan, but I think over the past few years, yung mga celebrated events namin dito, now with guest speakers na Filipinos who've made it abroad, it's mostly 90% from animation.
From
From
animation.
anime.
Okay.
Mga
Siguro,
Disney, mga ganun.
siguro ano, my last question to Sir. Do you see our country na talagang dito gagawin talaga lahat from programming to animation to basta alam mo yun, may isang malaking studio company tapos dito talaga gagawin yung game.
So, back in 2013, when I was president back then, we made a three-step roadmap. The end of the roadmap was that. Let me tell you. The first one. Now, during that time, 2012, 2013, again, it's mostly about outsourcing yung negosyo namin. And the biggest client during that time was none other than Naughty Dog of Sony PlayStation. That was the top account in the Philippines. Now, you can't get a better gig than that in terms of fame. You know, everybody who's lucky enough uh, in the Philippines was working for that title in that company, Naughty Dog. There's only two companies. I was one of them. We knew that had to change. It can't just be one top client. You know, there are others, but that's the biggest name. You know, we had to do something even bigger or wilder, just rock the current status quo. So step number one, get a new flagship client, someone different. I mean, it's hard to top Naughty Dog, definitely, but something else, something new. Number two, to get a flagship studio. Now, I work for a studio called Synergy 88. I fly to Finland and I say, "Hi, I'm Alvin. I'm from Synergy 88." Sabi na kausap ko, "Sino ka?" Ano ngayon? You know, but if I said, "I'm from Rovio, Philippines," whoa, I know that company. What? So we need to get a studio with a global brand to the Philippines to tell the world that, hey, this country has something. This country has globally competent artisans and
So
craftsmen.
that's what Ubisoft Philippines is all about. So we had the first.
We were no,
I
that
mean,
was part of our plan. But I mean, Ubisoft is in how many countries around the world?
Yeah.
yeah,
But in Southeast Asia, they chose the Philippines.
it's actually good. In Laguna, no?
Yeah,
Yes.
DLSU Laguna.
Yep.
Diba? So we brought them in. So the first step, and it was just so funny that all these things happened. Sabi ko, nga, we declared this in 2013. Kachamba chamba. You know, if you work on something, good things will happen. I was the one who made step number one because I got Xbox. So that.
Can you share what did you do for Xbox?
Oh, I've been doing Gears of War for 6 years already.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's one of my
one of
favorite game
the
actually.
it originally was made by Epic Games, the maker of a game engine, a famous game engine, Unreal.
Yeah,
Then Microsoft bought it for I don't know how many, $1.9 billion or something. So it was Gears of War. They bought it as Gears of War 3. So we started at 4. Uh, we're almost done with 5. We're just doing downloadable content right now. So you know, it's been 6 years we've been working on Gears. So that was something big for the industry, diba? So, uy, may PlayStation ka na, may Xbox ka pa. Saan ka pa?
panalo, di ba?
Saan ka pa? So that I believe everybody, you know, news like that is very important for all studios in the Philippines. Well, not all studios will work with AAA, but if you're in video games in the Philippines, you're gonna say, yeah, but my friends in the Philippines, they work for Naughty Dog, they work for Xbox. Diba? It brings everyone up. Yun yung logic namin. Diba?
Which actually a good ano nga naman approach, no? Pero where are we in terms of having our very own big name publishing house?
Well, Now, many people look at it in different ways. So, because after that Microsoft win, ito na nga, because of our government connections, I got an email and forward lang sa akin lang, the government. And it said, hello, my name is this. I am from Ubisoft. I'm the managing director of Ubisoft Singapore. The French president is visiting the Philippines and I will be going with him. Can you please introduce me someone from the Philippine game development industry? Ako sumagot. Pinoward sa akin yung email. Diba? Then I told the team, the GDAP team, and we acted. We entertained him. We toured him to our studios. We went as far as we talked about HR practices. We talked about how to properly register your studio. In fact, we even told him of pay scale. He asked me, and most of us, because he was surprised. Huh? He was really surprised that it was the private people who was taking him around, introducing him, setting up meetings for him. And he asked me, Alvin, you're doing AAA art. Aren't you afraid of what may happen if we set up here? I go, what do you mean? That my people would apply to your studio? I go, but that happens around the world. That's how it happened. That's how game development spread around the world. Studios like you would go to other countries. The government would help you support and make your company. You would employ people. The skills are shared. But I know one day people will get sick and I told them this: will get sick and tired of you because you're French and you're snooty. So they will quit your company and come back to me, and they'll come back better. That's what we said, and he was so surprised. That's actually why, for me, Ubisoft really set up in the Philippines because nakita nila yung impact na pwedeng gawin nila sa industry. So they're there. And that studio, what they have close to like 200 people right now. Are they doing games now from the ground up? Could be. I don't work there. They could be.
We don't know
We
lang, of
don't know.
course.
Yeah.
I know
Usually
they
naman, game development are done in secrecy eh.
yeah.
Yes,
Before
yes.
it would be announced, no?
And then like with Ubisoft, different parts will be made by different studios and then they put it together. But isn't that still qualified as making a triple A game in the Philippines?
Yeah.
Di ba? Although, syempre, yung goal namin, yung step number 3 was kami mismo yung nag-uusap. Tayo gagawa ng triple A game. Now,
Yes.
that has not happened yet. That has not happened yet. And when you talk about a triple A game or something, triple A level game, whether it's console or mobile, I've realized that you should at least have access to at least $10 million. Do you have? I mean, if you do, let's talk.
$10 million.
If not, let's make a hyper casual game.
So ang mahal mag-develop ng games, no. Kaya nga
Sobra.
sabi nga natin, we need to really no, support those games by buying original
Yes.
Yes,
licenses.
yes. Tama. Tama
And
naman.
sulit naman eh kasi at the end of the day, para ka lang nagkape sa Starbucks,
That's true. That's
Mm.
very true. And it's
'di
yours
ba?
forever.
Yeah.
Unless makalimutan mo
Nakaka-collect
yung
nga
password
tayo
mo.
ng 12 Starbucks sticker every December. Eh, it's already one game, 'di ba?
Yes.
So, kayang-kaya naman ng Pilipino bumili ng games eh. And hindi naman
Kaya.
lahat ng games mahal. Not
Yep.
to mention, a lot of games right now are free to play.
Mhm.
And even by playing those free to play games, you're also helping kasi bottom line, you're still promoting that game.
Yes,
'Di
tama.
ba? Kung hindi man ikaw yung bumili, somebody else would actually buy. Especially if the game has in-game purchases.
Yes.
No, you're right. It's very, very important that we do help our local studios and local games because um and this happened many, many times, like the press people pick up, oh, this game is made in the Philippines, it's now being launched. Tapos it became a bit viral, so a lot of people downloaded it. So what happens is that that game developer will now say and talk to another person, a publisher, and say, hey, my game was downloaded a million times. You want to invest? Ganun nangyari. Diba? So that's great.
Yeah.
Support like that is good. Is really can push you over the top.
Yeah.
So please support locally made games.
Yes,
Yeah.
and yan. So, ang dami natin tututuan today, no?
Yeah.
It's very, it's an eye-opener, no?
Sobra. Sobra.
I mean,
Dami ko ding natutunan kay Sir.
well, at the end of the day, we're really hoping that this is one of the industry that would survive, no? In the next decades.
Yeah.
Well, decades to come. Decades to come.
Yeah.
And
Sabi
kasi
nga, we need our own unfair share of that market because the
Yes.
market is getting bigger and bigger.
palaki na talaga na palaki. We're just para tayong sleeping giant kung tawagin natin. It's
Very
just
true.
we're
Yeah.
not just being properly funded pa right now.
Tama.
Tingin ko yun yung kulang.
You're
Tama.
right. You're
Tama.
very
Ayan.
right.
Yun, baka merong last message si Sir, especially sa mga aspiring game developers dyan. So,
Yes.
Last message ko. We talked about the industry. We talked about programming, and my last message is I'm actually in the lookout for AAA level artists.
Ayan. So, sa mga gusto
Please,
mag-apply.
please apply. You can hit me on Facebook. Because again, the industry is growing. All the studios want to grow. The demand of the clients is getting bigger and bigger. The pay is kind of decent. You'll be surprised how much we can pay top class talent
Just
in this industry.
just a clue. How many zeros?
Hindi naman ganon. But uh, sabi mo yan, siguro maka 3 years ka lang, siguro 3 years, 4 years in 3D. Okay, in 3D. I'd be proud to say na you can buy a bank manager coffee in Starbucks. Dahil
wow.
pareho na sweldo nyo.
Wow.
Again, yeah, there's some really, really good guys in the Philippines. And you really have to pay them well to keep them. Di ba? Nakagulat. No? And they are just normal looking people. Hindi naka-suit.
Yeah.
Buti
Yan,
nga,
ito-
swerte na kami kung hindi sila nakachinelas eh.
Pero yan yung mga naka-shorts lang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaya typically, yun yung parang pag sinabi mong game developer,
Yan
parang
eh,
ganun
oo.
yung itsura.
Yun yung yun yung
Stigma ng tao.
Yun yung stereotype
Stereotype.
Lalo na pagka programmer ka. Kasi stereotype pag programmer ka, glasses ka, maglubok mo. Tapos parang, alam mo, lagi kang bagong gising. Ganun.
Dahil lagi kasing puyat.
Laging
Oh.
puyat, which is I understand. Pero yung ganong itsura, malulupit yung mga yun.
Actually.
So ayan guys, maraming salamat Sir Alvin, no? And I
Thank you,
hope
Sir
sa
Alvin.
near future mag-guest ka ulit dito sa aming show. Ayan. So sa mga nanonood at nakikinig sa atin ngayon, kung meron pa kayong mga further question, feel free to comment down below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Tech&Ed. And ayan, Sai,
Ayun, so sobrang thank you ulit kay Sir Alvin. So madami tayong natutunan today about game development, lalo na kung gusto mo talagang i-pursue yon as a career, kasi based sa sinabi ni Sir Alvin, maganda talaga ang pay, lalo na pagka magaling ka talagang sa mga sa aspect of programming and animation. So kung meron ka nun, maganda talaga ang pay. And sa mga nag-aaral dyan, pag-isipan nyo mabuti. I-balance nyo kung gamer kayo, i-balance nyo pa rin sa pag-aaral, kasi kung naglalaro na kayo ng game, feeling ko may future na kayo dyan.
ayan. So, once again guys, this is Edison Tan. And of course, dito pa rin ang partner ko, Cyrus.
Yes.
See you again next week. Bye-bye guys.
Bye!